Ram Gopal Varma, definitely a legendary Indian filmmaker. The work he did in the time when no one was doing anything like that, he just changed the landscape in a sense. He's talking about another director who changed the landscape, SS Rajamouli. We all know how direct he is. He doesn't, hide anything. There's no filter. He's not a diplomat. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say. Now, if you haven't seen the original video, I'll put the link for it in the description. Check it out there. There's a reaction. I'll be stopping, pausing, talking in the middle. It's not a substitute for it. So without any delay, let's go.
See, to be frank, Rajamouli as a director, of course, has been there for quite a long time, nearly around 20 years or something. The first breakthrough happened with Magadira. Magadira is the first time I actually took notice of him in the context like a very special director. He's not just like one of the
I think this is a part of a bigger interview that I think News 9 did. So maybe the bigger interview talks about more of things you can check out.
directors, you know. Of course, from there he kept on pushing the envelope with Iga, that Makhi, and then of course Baahubali's and all this, So I would like to say there was a sudden shift in the way he started making films. I really don't know exactly why that happened,
Okay.
And because, like I said, they were pretty much ordinary for the first 10-15 years of his thing. Magadira is a time when I put a lot of tweets on the film that it's going to change the face of Telugu cinema, all kinds of things. I said that.
He could see all that in that time itself. I think that's what mark of a genius, which he's also called. I think they can see it, through all of it. Like, you don't, a lot of people, they want proof of something. They don't, jump to conclusions. They want proof of that will happen, and then that happens. And even after years after that, you take notice of it.
You know, that is when I met him for the first time, actually, properly, just sitting down and talking and things like that.
Okay.
And so from then on, obviously, Iga and all this happened. Whenever we meet, we talk only about films in the context. I remember he narrated the story of Baahubali to me at his home, and his home, you will be shocked. It is like a middle class apartment,
Okay.
The simplicity of his life is one more big shock to me. Now, I am not a big fan of people being simple and all that, but I think his dedication and his focus is so much on what he has to do in films, and his personal life is exact opposite of a spectacle. If he comes to Mumbai, he travels in an Innova car. Absolutely, there won't be anybody next to him, his assistants or whatever. He just goes solo. At the most, he and his family go to some ice cream. That is the biggest luxury I've heard in terms of Rajamouli's lifestyle.
Interesting.
Bahubali's story.
He's so focused on, telling a story in a big manner that he doesn't care about these things. And I think that's pretty much makes sense, right? Like, I'm sure he would, have his own desires of a car, or maybe not, of going out, or, spending money, vacation, whatever. But maybe it's not like, not at the call. Like, he would better use that money in technology and, doing something which takes his storytelling forward instead of just his, like personal pleasures.
Narrated to me in his balcony, which is exactly, I think, 6x3. 8x3 at the most.
That's like mine.
Balcony, yes, at his home, and he narrated Bahubali, and he still lives in the same place. I remember before Bahubali 1 released around 4 days, a very big producer was telling me it's going to be a big disaster for the simple reason that there is not that much of money in revenue from the Telugu market. So if the maximum it will collect is 70 crore at that time, they went ahead and spent 150 crores.
Yep.
Then it's another matter, it went into thousands, the revenue. But the point,
that's something which is a point. I don't think so. A lot of times when, it is said that, oh, producers don't, think that it's good enough idea and all that. I don't think the idea is the problem. They always think, okay, if the market, like if you make a film, the maximum you can make is 70, then what's the point? Like, why would you put 150? It makes no sense. And so it's a stupid idea. It will not work. Even if you get all 70, that means your film is hit. Everyone likes it. You'll never reach 150 because you spent that much. And you don't want to reach 150. You want to reach 10 times, or maybe not 10, 5 times, 3 times profit over that. So over 150, you need profit of that, like maybe 300, 400, 500. So I think a lot of people think, especially producers think like this. And I think that's what Bahubali did, right? Open the market that you can make, like a film which can earn 500 crores, 600 crore, 1000 crore, 2500 crores. Like that's the market actually available. And there's more because there's so much untapped potential because we have so many less theaters in our country to serve the big population. Compare that to China and USA, like we have nothing, you know. So if that also comes up, and but again, if someone has to think, someone has to step that and try to push the boundary. Like if no one, everyone think, oh, this is the boundary, and everyone just stops here, or we cannot go there. If someone comes and pushes it, oh, it can go further, it can go further, it can go further. I think that's what happened, right? Bahubali 2 was, I think, next level success. Then RRR came, with KGF came, they also pushed the boundaries, and Bollywood also with Pathan and everything, they pushed the boundaries. Jawan, so things for adulterated film, Animal, 800 crores, it's unheard of. Like no one could even imagine an adult film can go that much. Even Kabir Singh released in the Hindi version, no one thought an adult film can do 250, 300 crores. It just, everyone's shaken up. I think that's the change he has brought.
Is for him to, and he's an extremely responsible guy. It's not like
Yeah,
we
not
keep hearing
overspending
about
unnecessary.
stories of people who go massively over budget. He told the producers, so the producers has a leap of faith. So there were instances they took from Hollywood where you can create new benchmark of revenues if at all the product is good enough, which happened many times, like Titanic or whatever. Yeah. So I think once he saw the kind of an acclaim and success, I think that is when he took this decision of keeping on pushing, making it bigger and better.
Okay.
I think that's the first time actually Bollywood woke up that you can make spectacles. See, in Bollywood, we used to make the most expensive film will be some Kambaktish or some houseful, and
Okay.
we spend on stars. Star fees and all that, and put in production values which are not even needed for that kind of a genre,
Yeah.
Whereas
That's true. It's happening. Like I think Houseful 5 is supposed to have the budget of 500 crores. Like what? How can a comedy film, unless you're really going into and creating big set pieces to deliver comedy, which actually is still not needed, but like what, in which word it makes sense to spend 500 crores on a comedy film franchise? Like if the previous Houseful had earned that much, okay, I get it, you're spending more and trying to make more. But I think previous one, did it even work? I don't remember, maybe 200, 300 crore it reached, but spending 500 crores, like, makes no sense.
in a Bahubali, you see the money spent in
Yep.
every frame. Probably the actors were paid the least in the
That's
entire exercise.
That's a good point.
And spending money on the making to give that visual experience, I think that's a very big risk he took. I'm saying risk because it's never been tried before. So that is when I think they woke up. At the most, Bollywood used to think of remake rights as far as South films are concerned, and they were not even aware of.
I like this brutal honesty. That's amazing.
Maybe not exactly in Bahubali range, but some films doing very well in the so-called Hindi satellite dubbing market or whatever. But I think actually the making of a film, I think is the first time Bollywood woke up suddenly. In fact, once he asked me post when Bahubali is done so well in Japan. Even he was surprised why people would see it there.
Talked about it.
So I said the same way why we probably, when we first saw a Mechanized Gold in early times, or maybe Enter the Dragon with the Chinese actor, I think they must have found it exotic more than anything else. If the same film had white faces or maybe Chinese looking guys, I'm not sure it will have the same thing. I feel to see Indian actors in that space, they might have seen Indian film here once in a while here and there, but to see that kind of a space, I think it hit them very hard. That's what I thought.
Maybe it's just unique and different, and it stands out in that sense with those actors because they can deliver it. Like imagine Bahubali or RRR with or like where, Hollywood has made the film similar style. It would not look good, you know. If we had white actors in RRR, you know, but they act so differently than you would expect them in a Western film. I think that's a really good point.
You know, so obviously now the advantage for Rajamouli is because he's from the south. His market is like quadrupling, or I don't know what, 5 times. Now there is a Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, and Hindi, and then other languages, whatever comes after that. This is an advantage which no other maker has because he's got that following due to his films in everything. A Hindi film cannot repeat that. Even if you take Pathan, it's the biggest blockbuster in Hindi ever, but the numbers are nowhere near what Bahubali has done in Telugu, Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, and all that.
I think Pathan did, of course, people put allegations of corporate booking, but I think Hindi belt and abroad it did really well because SRK has a really big fan following outside India. NRIs, you know, and I think Germany also has a big fan following.
So I think those kind of budgets and the recovery is there. Obviously, you can think like the sky to reach. Of course, Triple R has taken to another level internationally. See, I mean, I don't want to give credit to Telugu cinema. I think it solely belongs to Rajamouli because Telugu makes 150 films a year around. So it's not that any of them remotely go where Rajamouli reached. You know?
Interesting point. I think it happens everywhere, right? Like even I am doing it, right? Oh, RRR is my film, my country film, but it comes from that region. But those people in that region, oh, it's Telugu film, our industry's film. But then he makes the point that, but no one else is making anything like that. It's basically Rajamouli's film. You know that, but I think that's what cinema is, right? We all can own it. Like it's part of our lives. We experience it, we loved it, and we want to own it. That we are part of it, and it belongs to all of us. That's, I think, a victory for a maker.
So I would like to say that interesting to see if Rajamouli was born in Gujarat or with the same kind of a temperament, or some other Hindi state, he would have still done the same film. So I don't think the Telugu aspect is a big thing there.
But I do feel the style, and it's also the industry is open to that, right? Like, so I think if you just think of it, if he was in Bollywood, he would not find producers. He would not find. Maybe he is so strong that he's still able to make it, and if it hits, then there'll be producers, or many will come show up and help him out. But I think that style also adds a flavor of Telugu, which he has born and brought up in, what he has learned over time and seen, and that's what led to his his style of filmmaking.
I would like to believe he's got, an enormous kind of a, I don't know, it's a quantum of both patience and passion. Passion is to really achieve what he dreamt of, what he thought of, and to put it into a film, and then to wait for no matter how long it takes. Most of the people, they want to get it done in 6 months or 1 year. Whatever stops them is probably other factors, not because of pushing the limits of what you can achieve in cinema. So having the patience and passion, I think, is fundamentally that. And then there is a kind of a kid in him who just loves mythology, who loves mythological characters and very Indian traditional stories, which is probably a very childhood trait, As a filmmaker, I think it's his passion and patience, What is unique about him is the spectacle he creates in terms, like I said, a visual experience and very hard mass emotion, which probably is relatable, taking themes from Mahabharata and Ramayana and those kind of things, and the moralistic aspect, the good and bad, the very sharp divide, So I think that is the reason it caters to so many, sections of the audience. I think at the most, not Hindi film industry, Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, all film industries are just burning with jealousy and are
Okay.
praying at temples, mosques, and churches for him to make a failure. That is
Oh,
exactly what the industry people are doing right now, because
interesting.
because they're not able to take it. So learning is a very far cry. That is not going to happen. Yeah, because his inborn qualities, that's what he makes him. So just by seeing him or seeing his films, you can't become him.
That's interesting. Interesting because because we see so many, say that we have learned from him, and he has showed the way, and a lot of people praise him. No one comes out and say, I want him to fail. Like no one will do that. It's interesting. He says that he comes from the industry, he knows how things work, and we have heard these certain things like this. And I'm sure there will be people who don't like his success, and he wants him to fail and not do well. But I think that's what makes him stand out is that he'll not think about that. He's not making films for those people. He is making for himself, and the thing is that after RR success, the obvious thing of what normal person would do is that quickly make a next film because there's so much market now. But he's already taken 3 years to even start his next film, and it will take 3 more years for it to even come out. So 6 years gap between his releases. Still, after getting so much success and fame and money and everything, like he could ride on that fame, but he's focusing on what he wants to tell next and the way he wants to show it, and taking it all the time for it. I think all this thing people can pray and everything, but if the person is doing the right thing, nothing can affect it.
I mean, see, predominantly South India has a lot of mythological leaning because we make a lot of mythological films. At least we used to make in the 60s
Yeah,
and early 70s. And his father also being a writer, and I think that kind of a seed must have been there right from the beginning of his childhood. So Triple R being getting popular in the West, in the US, and all that. Apart from the awards, so many people tweeting about it, all big directors and all that. I think before that, I'm not sure they were even aware of Indian cinema or saw
that's
something.
yep.
You know.
I
So
agree.
one I think is exoticness, and second is because the kind of action which Rajamouli does, you know, especially Triple R. I can still understand Baahubali because it is a period thing. It's set in those times and all that. So,
Yeah,
Triple R is a strange time space of the British rule and blah blah. In that kind of
blah
a
blah.
setting, to have this kind of action, I think is very very unique. So I think.
Yep. I always go back, man. Like the whole setup until the RRR shows up. It's not that traditional action. Oh, punching 10 people flying. It's actually not that. Even the 1,000 men against Ram, his introduction. You see a lot of efforts. He's like pushing through them. He's getting beaten up. It's like one man. Maybe it could like it. That's the thing you think of. Maybe it can be done. Maybe because I saw it. It's not like he's just coming and he steps his, which is kind of a scene we see. He puts his foot down and the wind blows and dust and everyone's scared, which happens after everything has happened. After all of it has happened, everyone's scared. Then that thing happens. But before that, we see it all unfold in a way which it doesn't feel. It is over the top concept, but the way it's done, it's not over the top. Even the tiger movement, it's not. It follows kind of physics, if you may. Mostly in a sense that you feel like, oh, he's running away from him, he's scared. It's not like, oh, he'll just punch him and hit him and just stand strong. No, they're trying to stop him. He's struggling. That aspect is there, which actually, even if it's heightened reality, it still makes sense because the stakes are similar, which we'll feel in real life. I think that's why it works. And then when they come together, even that sequence, them jumping off, like there is kind of physics and everything. It's not anything what anything is happening. It's like he's just flying. Oh, how is he flying? It's not that. It all makes sense when it comes together. And I think that's what makes it good. I remember watching the first time, like, this is good. It's not people flying and all of that, which Bahubali kind of has, because it's in a world like fantasy world. He's the kind of a supreme. He is kind of divine energy that he's can take. He's like special. He runs like flash sometimes. He's super strong. So that universe and the films those were portraying, it has that mass appeal. and it worked because it's a title character and everything. But to have something similar and work in a different period context and way it's done, absolutely
I
amazing.
mean, it's like a graphic comic book for them.
Yep.
So that's what I think.
Superhero style.
The way he mounts action and all that, I think that is the basic strength of an appeal. When you're kind of visually blown away sitting in the theater on the big screen, you already have half of it, and then he uses this very hardcore relatable emotion, you know,
Yeah. Every
it
action has
caters to the
emotion.
instinct. It doesn't ever become cerebral in his storytelling. See, the more grander visual you want to create, you need a lot of technological aid for that. Yeah. My guess is the film is going to do now. I think that is going to go beyond imagination for the simple
Okay.
reason that post Triple R release, I think he spent a lot of time with the technicians of the latest
Yep.
visual effects things which he was studying.
Which we saw him going around. He went to the game designer who's very famous, and he went to his studio. He did the whole 3D scan of him. Then he went to different US studios and understood things, and also he utilized that fame actually really well.
So I have a feeling this is going to really be the bap of all the films made.
Wow.
There's something called leap of faith. Leap of faith basically means if there are two buildings, you know, and between them there is a huge drop. So if the space between the buildings is 3 feet, people like us can jump and try to the other side.
Okay.
You make the space between them 4 feet, little you'll think. 5 feet, you're not
Yep.
sure. 6 feet, there's no way he will try. You know?
Okay.
But with
That's
every
true.
film, he keeps on widening that space. You know? So constantly to have that leap of faith and go forward and is what I think it requires a lot of courage and conviction. If it doesn't work, that will be called foolish by everyone. If Bahubali
Yep,
did
that's
not
true.
work, everybody would have said, as if we don't know, how can you bloody spend double of what the market maximum limit is? You know?
Wow.
But he kept on pushing, and today a Telugu
That's true, right? If you accomplish something, everyone will praise, right? Your actions. But if you fail, the same actions will be criticized. So that it's our society is so result oriented. That we don't focus on the process. Like even like today, if someone tries, right, a good film, but it fails, like you should appreciate the process. That's the thing. And but we live in a result oriented, what can we do? Like even in our schools, like no one focuses on studying well and understanding what you're studying, but focus on how much marks you're getting.
film, I would like to call it a Rajamouli film actually, can actually coming from Telugu industry can do 2,000 crores above. That is something nobody would have dreamt 5 years back. Something like that. I mean, see, Rajamouli is a person for me, like already described him in various ways. I think is constantly striving, and no matter how successful he is right now as a speaker at the top of the world, at least in the context of India.
Yep.
But you don't see an iota of that reflecting in his body language, in his face, in the way he talks, and it's like the upper limit of being down to earth, and that's what which makes people love him all around him, or who work with him, or talk to him, or interact with him. Rajmouli is the only person who can say that and get away because he's been doing it. He's the only guy who says, he never talks about how big a hit the film will be. He'll always maintain that fear. Maybe this time it might not work. Maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure. See, he has that constant fear of failing, not for himself, because he is very responsive even to whether the producers might lose money, or he might make the audience disappointed, or X or Y or Z. He always has that at the back of his mind, irrespective of how many times he proved himself.
That's a good fear to have. Again, he's not thinking, oh, will I make so much money? That's money is to be made for the producers to be happy and for his next film so he get the budget. Money is not the ultimate goal. Oh, so much money, I'll bath with it. That's not. the point of it. Money is the equivalence of how many people came and saw it, and if more people came, that means more successful, that means the story worked. And that fear, that the fear of the story working or not, it's coming for that. And that's very important, because that keeps you in check of what you're doing. You should not be like, how you say, some directors get indulgent in what they're making. They just be in their bubble, they think everything is great, or this is a it will work. And it's happened many times in past, that they think it's going to work and everything's great, and when it comes out of the bubble, and when people see it and they find flaws and everything, and then that dream is broken.
you know because in very initial stages, Bahubali 2, when it came out, there was certain negative criticism on that in the Telugu media, in the Telugu industry circles. I talked to him at that time on the phone, and he was shaken up. He thought maybe he made a mistake by making it in two parts, and somehow that is not
I remember
resonating.
this.
And his worry and concern was more for the producers to anybody else involved, the so-called buyer.
I think the story is that first evening, I think Telugu hero dying at the end, people were angry, this and that. And then suddenly, next day, Hindi market amazing, everywhere else amazing. And then suddenly, the Telugu market also started, they loving the film, and then we all know what happened.
And distributors, and that he let them down, so I think that kind of a selflessness aspect is extremely rare in any person, and that's what is so admirable about it. Rajamouli is the reason, and will be the reason, where the North had woken up to something called the South. It had a very condescending and a very kind of a
people flying and all that.
I mean, the attitude, चलो वो भी है, कभी कभी कुछ अच्छा बनाते हैं. In fact, I remember heroes, I don't name them, who probably refused to see Magadira because it was done by कोई South वाला बनाया film. That's one of the reasons why Magadira was not remade, because they didn't respond it as much as they heard about the film's massive success down south. They didn't care about it, So I think. I don't think many people have seen Iga. That's a point.
But I remember Makki, it was kind of popular, not very popular. I remember Makki releasing. I saw some promos and everything. But yeah, even I saw. I think I saw on TV or something like that.
I think 100% people waking up and suddenly pulling their pants up and to see what South cinema is all about, I think is what Rajamouli did. And Rajamouli gave courage to other people to try that. Like whether it's Prashant Neel of KGF 2 they felt that, okay, now, see, the greatness of someone opening the gates is that a lot of people can follow. It have a long-reaching effect much after even Rajamouli is gone. Because once you know that something like this can be accepted, there will be so many people trying to follow the footsteps of Rajamouli. So I think what that does is it poured in more money into the more people are investing, because he's proved that you go here also, probably you can reach there. Now actors are taking it very seriously. Stars.
Everyone today wants to work with South directors. That's what we are seeing. Everyone, because the thing is working, and most people are not sure, and they just want a South director, so they feel, oh, now we are gonna make something. Because it's not that in Bollywood or Hindi they are not people with unique ideas, but they are suppressed. You do what a formula film which will work and will make it. And even if you're trying something new, force fit into that formula. No one wants to do something unique and new and refreshing. No one, the producers and the people in charge are not bringing those people forward. And you see, some like Maddock, which is doing the horror comedy universe, they're bringing, again, they are also fitting it in a formula of comedy narrative, and they'll have some formula of how things work, but at least the storylines are unique and refreshing, and the way they're building a universe around it. So that is what we need more and more, but it's not happening, and everyone wants to now work with South director, and South directors are being brought into Hindi now.
Once you do a triple R or a Baahubali, now you want to at least attempt to be in the films of that grade or that largeness, So it changes the entire mindset of the industry in the context. So here, if you look at it, there's a certain mystery. A Telugu film or a Kannada film dubbed in Hindi is working magic, and the Hindi film is not doing the same, including Patan.
Yeah.
It has nowhere reached the numbers of the biggest hits of here. Whereas a Bahubali or a Triple R or a KGF 2, they quite 5 to 6 films where they reach the Hindi level of collections, which is not
Yeah.
happening in reverse.
Yeah.
So we trying to do the Marvel universe kind of a thing. I mean, that is where I'm not so sure about until it comes out.
That was a really, really interesting, interview, and so many insights. Like, this guy is a genius and very different perspective on everything, and he made so much sense. And even that point, that Hindi film, Bollywood, even the blockbusters haven't done well in South. For the longest time, Bahubali 2, the Hindi dub was the highest grossing Hindi film. A Hindi film was not a highest grossing film. And I think now it's Jawan, if I'm not wrong. Then after Bahubali, I think KGF crossed the mark of Bahubali 2. It was close, second close. And I think then Brahmastra came third. And the closest was Dangal, if I'm not wrong. Dangal or some, yeah. And so Southern film dubbed were the highest grossing Hindi films. And even if you say Jawan is by a Southern director, so I think the creative juices which are flowing in South, and the command, and the what's that big word everyone use? The commitment? No, it's from C. Conviction. The conviction, what Karanjo keeps saying again and again. Conviction, Southern directors have. And it's not that they have not failed. They also keep failing. As you said, 150 films released in Telugu, also not everyone is a big hit. Maybe in that market it works, but not outside. So, but as you said, the gate was opened by Rajamouli, and now everyone is just trying to, follow. We can also cross this gate and go. And I think the audience are ready today. The OTT boom, the films available now easily. I can watch not every film, but at least the big ones I can now watch in subtitles. So if it's big film released near me, I can watch in a theater. It will be playing, like South films will be playing it if it's a big film. Even small films are playing today with subtitles, like that. I love that it's happening. I just wanted more and more that across the country, if a Telugu film is releasing, it should be across the country available. If a Hindi film is releasing across a Assamese film across the country, it should be available. Like, that's the level I wish we reach, and more theaters come in. And that's because that's infrastructure wise, that's the only thing stopping us from going to different heights. That's the only technology wise, money wise, I think everything, we are just growing. We just need more screens to deliver to more audiences, but which is very tricky. It's something else. It's not about filmmaking. But I hope, but this, the habit and the what do you call, the diet, if you may, I think some other word for that, to watch films, to consume films and all of that, which I should keeps increasing the hunger for it. It should not be, oh, I don't want to watch film. Like, we want, like in South, how every weekend people want to go and watch a film. That's something, if it's developed across the country, that's also great. But for that, you have to deliver good films. And there are like people, they come for a big film in theaters, and then suddenly you see good films also coming out, but people aren't coming to watch it. Then the theater prices are raised, that the prices are big and everything. But Kalki also prices were high. People came because it was a theatrical experience. And even small films should work in theater, but practically, I don't know if it's like 12th Fail worked, right? 12th Fail was amazing to watch in theater. It was a community viewing. But yeah, it didn't make like 1,000 crores. It made not even 100, I guess, or less than 100. But it was big for that film. So I think if it's delivering something for the audience, they'll come. But yeah, this was lovely interview. Thank you, News 9 Live, for doing this. And what are your thoughts? Let me know that in the comments below. Check out my other reaction to SS Rajamouli's interview, where he talked about his process here. And I will see you next time.